So I fasted off and on in the past, never consistently for a full month. So I will look to fast. I think it will break some habits I have later at night, or my Milla Vanilla habit right now of the morning for breakfast. So it's going to be good to break some habits.
This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, where we explore how to forge mental toughness and resilience in every aspect of life. Welcome, I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. I'm an ICF certified professional coach with a background as a teacher, basketball coach, and athletic director. But my journey took a dramatic turn in 2020 when I survived both cancer and a stroke. Those experiences shaped my mission, help others grow stronger in every facet of life. Today, I work with athletes, coaches, educators, and anyone who believes that positive mental health is both achievable and a personal responsibility. This podcast is dedicated to helping listeners develop a positive version of toughness, one rooted in resilience, focus, and growth. Whether you're looking to excel on the field, in the classroom, or in life, this is your space to learn, grow, and take action. Join me on this journey, and together, let's forge your mettle. So if you are a fan of the show, or at least somebody who's listened to some, you know that I always end every episode with the words, forge your mettle. And that's on purpose. It's intentional. It's a phrase that encompasses so much of what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to preach, what I'm trying to help others do. What it means to me to forge your mettle is well, first of all, the word forge, it's a very intentional verb. Forge is usually associated with forging like metal as in swords, or, an old school idea of making armor or anything like that. You got to light a fire, you got to have the equipment, you got to do this. You don't accidentally forge something. It has to be very much on purpose, very intentional. So it's also a play on words. When I say forge your mettle, usually it's metal as in iron or steel or something in a forge, but I'm using the word mettle as in a person's ability to face adversity in a spirited and resilient manner. That too cannot happen on accident. So we have a very intentional verb and an intentional product, intentional outcome. And that's what I'm trying to create here. That's the idea I'm trying to give people, is that if you want more mental toughness, if you want more resilience, it is your responsibility to create it. Now, of course, there is a genetic component to it, just like there is strength, speed, everything else. And people are born with more mettle or more resilience than others. Absolutely. But if you are looking to increase yours, it is not on accident. I think that you can play a sport, or you can have a job, or do something that can help develop it just by putting yourself into a situation, and you can develop it over time. But the more intentional you are with it, the more progress you see around it. And if you've heard me talk, one of the ideas that I love to talk about is how there's two types of adversity in this life. The first is mandatory adversity. So that's things that we don't get to decide whether or not we face those trials. It could be health issues, losing a job, losing a loved one, like all sorts of things, just the health and all sorts of things that just happen. I mean, that's life for us. We have this mandatory adversity. And then, of course, then there's intentional adversity, and there's things that you do on purpose that are hard. It could be, some of them are mental, some of them are physical, but it's things you do on purpose that aren't just sitting on the couch doing nothing, right? So, but what I like to say is that if the more you practice intentional adversity, physical and mental, emotional, all those, the more that you put yourself in these situations, the more prepared you are for the mandatory adversity that we know life is going to deal, the cards that are going to get dealt eventually. It happens to everybody. And that's something that I saw, that I faced in my life. So I've always been pretty good at that, putting myself through some difficult stuff, especially physically. I'd always lifted, I played basketball, baseball growing up, played some college basketball, started running marathons, a lot of long distance hiking, some things like that. Did that stuff on purpose. And then I was always intentional about what I tried to be intentional about what I ate, what I didn't eat, things like this, just putting, not making things easy on purpose. And then when I did face some health troubles, and I had testicular cancer followed up by a stroke, they told me that, what you've done in the past is really prepared your body to overcome some of these stuff. The stroke wasn't as bad because I was in better shape, and anything that I had with my cancer and all those things, I was in better shape and had been through some things that really helped me out. But then once, I had the stroke and it became an issue where I struggled to even talk, and I struggled to write, and I struggled to communicate, and just couldn't think quite like I wanted to because it affected my speech centers. What I found out was that my mental preparation could have been better. Now, it's, to be fair, nobody expects that to happen, and you shouldn't just go through life saying, I want to start doing things in case I have a stroke, because you really can't prepare yourself for that. But it is since then, it has helped me realize that I wasn't putting myself through the mental adversity possibly that I could have been. And that's something I'm starting to develop now. Is I'm going to continue to do the physical stuff. I still lift. I train jujitsu. I do a lot of hiking. I try to stay in pretty good shape. But I'm also trying to figure out ways that I can increase my mental intentional adversity. Now, to be fair, doing physical stuff, there's a whole lot of connections between mental and physical and vice versa. But I also want to make sure that the things I'm doing are very intentional about sharpening the mental focus, having more mental adversity or mental resilience, and forge that metal like I'm talking about. So that's what I've been doing this entire year. It's March, I know, so not that long yet, but I'm doing what I'm calling the Monthly Mettle challenge, in which that I choose a tactic and practice it in depth for a month. And the reason I did that is because when I started looking into the different things that I could do to, forge my metal and increase my mental resiliences, there's just so many things. It's, when you start looking the research or watching social media or anything, it's, eat this, don't eat that, do this, don't do that. You need to read, journal, pray, meditate, breathe, hit the sauna, do an ice bath, run, lift, do yoga. And there's more. And I'm just scratching the surface. There's so many things, and it's daunting. Well, how do you know what's best? You don't have time for all of it. But what I realize is that this is my job. This is what I want to do. And this is how I want to reach people and help people. So I'm going to take a tactic and do it once a month and really dive in and really lean into it for an entire month and find out if this is something that I want to do long term, if it's worth my time, worth my focus, and also give you some updates and some ideas on, what I found. I mean, it's going to be anecdotal, but most of what I'm doing, I'm finding a lot of research that it can be beneficial. But of course, it helps, for some people, it helps more than others. So I'm just going to go through and see how it works with me. And so far in January, I started with gratitude. Did a lot of stuff where I talking about how Martin Seligman, he's the father of positive psychology. Got some other people talking about all the way to biblical stuff with Paul, and then a Roman philosopher named Cicero, and just the importance of gratitude and how gratitude is something, no matter whatever characteristic or whatever virtue you're trying to develop, you need gratitude first. So I started with gratitude. I journaled every night, at least 3 gratitudes, 3 things I was thankful for. And then also I did some very in-depth letters and did what they call gratitude visits to people, and, just thank them for the impact they've had on my life. And I found that to be just a great, I would highly suggest that. Go back and listen to that January episode. And I would highly suggest you do that. write a gratitude letter to somebody and then visit and have coffee with them and talk to them about it. It is a extremely uplifting thing and reminds you of the people that are there to help you and how we're helping each other. It's a great thing. And that's something I'm going to continue to do, is look for ways to show gratitude. I'm still doing the 3 good things a night. I've incorporated that with my daughter. So now I text with her. She suggested it. So now I share mine with her and she shares her with me. And that's just a fantastic thing that I'm loving so much. So I'm continuing to do that. I found that definitely to be worth my time. And the second one was February. And February was all about faith. I really leaned into my faith, getting up every morning and doing at least half an hour of biblical reading and biblical study. And then throughout the day, I'm trying to get in. I originally said I would pray for at least 30 minutes. And what I'm finding is that I do have a couple times where I sit down and pray, and it's very intentional. It ends up not being quite 30 minutes, but what I'm doing is now, anytime, because I'm seeing such of the benefits from it, anytime I feel a little bit of anxiety, a little bit nervous about something, I just stop what I'm doing and take the time and incorporate some prayer into my day. It's been amazing. I've had some prayers answered, some like extremely specifically answered and very quickly. Others, it doesn't work like that. It's not a wishing well, but it's been really interesting to see. Matthew 7:7 talks about, if you ask for it, God will provide. And that's it's not always the way we think, but it's just been a really good month doing that. And throughout February, if you go back and look at the podcast, all 3 of my guests were faith-based athletes or coaches, and just how they incorporate faith into their coaching, and the way they played, and just so many things. Really, really good episodes. If you're interested in that, go back and listen to it. And I'm going to continue to incorporate faith as part of my daily routine, much more than I did before. This is so far I'm finding my January, February, they're things that are things that I'm going to continue to do. I'm not going to cut them out of my life like I didn't find them useful. I found them extremely useful. Now, does that mean I cut time out of my day, something else I'm doing? Yeah, maybe, but I'm finding out that this is worth it. So really interesting. I'm really enjoying it so far. Hopefully you're getting some stuff from it, seeing and trying some things. And that's what I want to do is showcase some of these ideas and give you some ideas. And hopefully you can see this example and be like, yeah, I'm going to try this. This should be worth it. So now March coming up is an interesting one. I'm getting on to the topic of fasting. And now fasting, as you know, it's defined as abstaining from at least all or some food or drink for a period of time. And what's interesting about this one is this one actually could gain some time back to my day, because this is not about doing something as much as it is not doing something, which is interesting. It seems backwards to what I'm doing. It's not like I had to incorporate at least an hour of my day to practice faith. Well, now, if I'm doing some fasting, and I'll explain what I'm going to have it look like, that's less time I'm cooking and eating. It's an interesting thought that I'm actually gaining some time back on this one. So, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not overly excited about this one. I'm a big guy. I like to eat. I'm excited about eating. If food is one of my things that I do for my family, my wife, and all this, I do most all the cooking. I love cooking. I love creating food. Like a lot of times my reprieve from the day is heading to the kitchen and turn on TV, and then I'm just cooking, and I really enjoy doing that. So, and of course I like eating it. Like I said, I'm a big guy. So I'm not overly excited about this one, and I'm going to talk to you in a minute about all the benefits from it. But first, I'm going to need a little bit of motivation. I'm going to need a little bit of guidance, and I'm going to do what I do on every episode on the Monthly Mettle Challenge, the start of every month. I'm going to bring in an ICF certified coach, and this is a Larksong coach. Larksong is the place where I got my coaching certification, and they're just phenomenal coaches. I'm going to bring in a coach here now. Her name's Aubrey Ghafari. Aubrey's a phenomenal coach, and you'll see in this, she really guides me into a lot of clarity around what I want to do with this fasting, why I want to do it, what I want to gain from it, and how I'm going to like turn an idea into a specific plan. And it's just a really good coaching session. So enjoy this. Remember that this is not scripted. This is how coaching works. It's fantastic stuff. Even me as a coach can benefit from coaching. It just can give you so much clarity and so much purpose with a plan that you might be spinning your wheels on. And that's where I was. That's where I am on fasting. So enjoy this coaching session. And yeah, so with Aubrey Ghafari. Are you ready to take on the toughest opponent you've ever faced? Yourself. At Mental Mettle Coaching, I work with athletes, coaches, and professionals who are up for a challenge and ready to grow. Through individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses, we'll help you build confidence, resilience, and a mindset that seeks growth. If you're serious about becoming your best, let's get started. Check out the show notes for my contact information, and together, let's forge your mettle. Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mental Mettle Coaching. All right, Aubrey, here we go. I'm excited to have you coach me. So thanks for coming on the show and being a part of it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be
Oh,
here.
absolutely. Yeah. I'll let you, since you're the coach, I'm the client here. We're going to let you roll with it. How about that?
That's perfect. All right. Well, Matt, I'd love to know today, what's your topic? Where do you want to start?
Yeah, so you know a little bit in that I'm doing the monthly mettle challenge and doing a different tactic every month. And this month is about fasting, and on a couple different levels, looking at possibly some intermittent fasting and also some fasting from the perspective of cutting a few things out of my diet, my life, my things like that. The challenge is that I know that these things, I've read a lot about this stuff and how beneficial it is, how it can help with mental resilience, focus, clarity, and it's good for your health too. There's all kinds of things. It's a biblical thing as well. Daniel fasted, David fasted, like Jesus talked about fasting. Like there's all kinds of reasons. I have all the reasons. I've even tried it for a little bit and seen some success, but I don't. Despite all of that, I can't keep myself to do it. Right. And I want to do it, and I want to have the benefits from it, and I want to really lock into it. And it's, I don't know. I think it's something I struggle with, and that's, I want to be able to lock in to do this. And I feel a little bit stuck around that.
Yeah. What would you say if you had to bottom line it into a sentence, what's your current posture towards fasting?
I feel like I've read the book, but I'm not like actually like somebody asked me about it. I'm like, I know all this stuff. but I haven't actually like locked it. I don't, it's all theoretical knowledge at this point. So that's that's my posture around it, is like, I feel a little bit like a poser, right?
Yeah. Kind of sounds like knowing versus believing. Like when you know something, but versus believing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what are you hoping for out of this time?
Well, what I'd like to get out of this conversation is a bit of oomph to get going on it. A little bit of, I'd like to see you drag it out of me a little bit on why I want to do this, because I know I want to do it, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't have the accountability to get it done sometimes, and this is what I'm hoping for out of this, is a little bit of, like I said, a little oomph and a little accountability.
Awesome. So you kind of want to know your why and walk away understanding, yeah, the real reason why we're here to do
Yeah,
fasting.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. So I'm curious, when you kind of started smiling when you were talking about like, I know all the stuff, but I haven't done it yet. So yeah, tell me a little bit about the feeling behind it.
I think that's a little bit of a deep-seated fear I have about myself sometimes, is I'm always reading, I'm always learning, and it's probably because I feel that way in a couple things, right? It's like I know all these things that I should be doing. I know the reasons, I know how to do it. Well, then why aren't you doing it? And I feel that in fasting is one way I feel that. I feel it with other things too. It's just like, yeah, it kind of like it's a smile, but it's also like I'm kicking myself a little bit.
Mm. I'm wondering if you had to tie fasting to one of your values, is there a specific value that you can think of that it connects to?
It's funny. I was thinking about this because I was talking to my wife Dana about it, and I think that's one of the reasons I've struggled with it, is because I'm an Enneagram 3. I'm all about achieving things and recognition, whatever. So you tell me there's a mountain we got to go climb, I'll go climb the mountain. I'll be the first one up, and I'll take a picture and I'll put it on and I'll post it. Or if there's a marathon, I've run marathons, I do all this stuff. I'm good at I'm good at seeing things to get done and do them. What I'm not good at is, this is kind of like fasting is not doing something. It's like the opposite of one of my values. So I don't know what value it ties to, but I think I have an understanding of why I don't lean into it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so if fasting is something you're not doing, how could you switch that into something that you are doing?
I think that's yeah, that's a great question, because I don't have an answer, but I understand where you're coming from, because that's what I need. Like, what do I like?
Yeah.
What if what is like what is fasting about? What am I going to get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I need to look at it.
Well, I wonder, okay, so if you're fasting, abstaining from food, water, whatever it is that you're removing from your life, what is it that you want to put in place of that?
I think that I want to get the mental clarity. There's two things I would say that I would like, is mental clarity, and also building some resilience, right? So I think the idea of mental resilience is you build mental resilience by practicing self-discipline, and by fasting for certain amounts of time, or not allowing myself things that's that self-discipline. So I think that's the two things, is I want some of that mental clarity and some more of that mental resilience.
Okay. I'm wondering how we might turn this habit of fasting into, instead of just like a goal, making it an identity based habit. How does that sound to you?
I like the idea. Give me more.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, okay, not I am someone who fasts, I am a person who has mental clarity and builds resilience.
So I like that idea, because that's kind of what I'm about and what I try to do. So if I believe that this fasting can help me do that, then and be better at those things, I'm all about it.
Do,
I
do
think
you
one of the
will do that?
what's that?
Do you believe it'll do that?
Well, I think that you have to try it to figure it out, right?
Right.
I have to give it the old college try at least to even know if that's going to happen. I don't think I've done it for I've done it a little bit once or twice and it feels fine. It's like I
Yeah.
don't have a struggle with it, but I never do it as long as I want to or as well as I want to. And I'm not talking about Aubrey about like going a week without eating. I'm talking about some more like intermittent fasting type stuff. What I'm kicking around in my head when you say that and when I'm answering the question like why do I want mental clarity? Well, I'd like a little bit more mental clarity on when I do a lot of my writing. I think that working on my book or working on some of the writing I do for some programs that I do, stuff like that. Like if I notice when I have some real good mental clarity, I get really good work. Well, if that's what I'm looking for, then why not tie that to that? This
Yeah.
fasting to that idea.
Yeah. Well, let's tie it to it. What is it that you can focus on getting more of as you start fasting?
Well, I think your idea that I'm not I'm going to fast. I'm thinking about because what I'm thinking about, just so you know, is like some intermittent fasting every day, like just not even eat, like not eat till I don't know 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and just kind of like a I don't know like an 18-hour fast every day, and just 6 hours in the evening. But I'm thinking if I have that all day, because most of my clients are in the evening, most of my day is me getting stuff around my work, like if
Right.
I've got if I've had a lot of mental clarity during the day, theoretically, I should be able to write better and write more and write longer and get more done. So your idea of what it's not about what I'm not doing, it's about what I am doing.
Mm.
That maybe that helped. I like that idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering too if I know sometimes with things like this, it's hard to notice the progress until you're in it so far, right? So
Yeah.
I wonder how you might keep track of that throughout the first week to notice how you feel at the beginning of the day versus how you feel when you start your work or when you start seeing clients or some type of reflection process that might be able to kind of build that momentum throughout the month that you're doing it.
Yeah. I think if I'm going to have a plan on what I'm going to do or not do, I need to have like you said, a little bit of documentation maybe in the evenings, whether I just sit down and journal for a few minutes on like how did I do today? How did I feel? How was my clarity? Or even better, why not when I sit down to eat my first meal at whatever time it is that I actually jot a few notes and be like, how do I feel?
Yeah.
Right? Like what like before maybe before I lose that mental clarity about right? Maybe the best time to do it is like, hey, if you're gonna eat, if you're going to break the fast, you're like in order to the key to unlock the door to unlock the fast here is you have to write on how things are going. Just a few minutes.
Yeah. I'm also connecting to Matt the deeper idea of what it means to break a fast. And if there's something you mentioned the spiritual aspect of fasting, I'm wondering if there's something that connects there for you.
Well, okay. So now I'm getting a picture, right? Like it's a fairly common idea to give thanks and say a prayer before you eat. So why not have a little bit of time of because there is a spiritual aspect to this. The whole point of like that's one of the things the Bible says about fasting is it gains that clarity about seeking God and what God's will is. So why not
Yeah.
before I break my fast, I'm going to write a little bit and I'm also going to give thanks, say a little prayer, and that's when I do my prayer time. So I'm doing all these things when I've got the most clarity. Um I now we're talking. Now I like this idea. This is good.
Yeah, well, I'm also like how perfect of a setup you already have for that to work if you're
Right.
seeing your clients in the afternoon or in the afternoon evening, and that's
Yeah.
around the time that you could transition your day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I know
perfect.
it's fantastic. I think I now I'm excited about this because it's a little bit more of a process
Yeah.
and what I it's not what I am doing. It's not about what I'm not doing. It's what I am doing, and that's to me that fits my personality a little bit better, and I like that idea.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I like that instead, as a type 3 on the Enneagram, that achieving side of you, not trying to get rid of that, but using it as a strength to make this a little bit better. You've got a structure and a way forward that makes sense for you.
Well, well, then there's also the idea that, like, if this works really well, and a lot of times if you just believe something is going to happen, it'll happen, right? So if I believe that this fast it gives me more mental clarity, and it's not just in your head, like there's a lot of research there,
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to write better and write more, then I'm actually getting more written and more done, which is something I'm just really I am spinning gears on writing the book. It's hard. Writing is hard, and I think that this this might be something that helps me get there quicker and better.
For sure. Yeah, what kinds of challenges can you anticipate coming up with this plan?
I'm hungry.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like this is it's an obvious one, right? But honestly, that one's probably not as much as like because I'm planning on doing this all month. I want to do this all month where I just don't. That's my idea. Maybe I don't know. I haven't really figured it out yet. But my problem is like, what if somebody? I already got one buddy that's already invited me. Hey, when you want to go to breakfast some Saturday in March and talk about stuff? So it's like, well, do I offend him by not doing breakfast? Do I just be that guy that like, cause when we talk the biblical thing, like there is Jesus said something about the Pharisees and don't advertise that you're fasting to everybody. It's as I'm doing a podcast about it, that one's in my head a little bit. Right. So I'm trying not to I don't want it to be this huge deal either. So other than being hungry, there's just daily
Yeah,
expectations that you're like, oh, you don't want to be that
for sure.
you don't want to be that weird guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, what will you do instead?
I don't know. I think it's probably an opportunity for me to, you don't have to make it like a Pharisee type big deal, right? You can just be like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's why I'm doing it. This is pretty cool. And
Okay.
you don't have to make a big deal about it, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
share
yeah,
it.
yes, share it. Yeah, I think that's just some of the problems I can see. I can already see that coming, right? Like, are we going on a trip or it's like, it's just hard when I'm here every day in my office working, I can make it my rhythm. When I'm out of rhythm, something going on, it might be tough, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely okay. And you're more than capable of coming up with some solutions to those challenges as they
Yeah.
come up. Yeah, I'm wondering, we've got a few minutes left. What's your insight from all of this time today?
I think that I think it's that idea that it's about me. It's not about what I'm not doing. It's about what I am doing. And if I'm going to say that I'm doing this fasting to gain mental resilience and mental clarity and focus, then use that focus and clarity for something good, right? Like I don't need it to just like go watch reruns of Seinfeld and be like, oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that before, right? That's not the point. Like I want to like if you're going to have this resilience and clarity, then use that clarity for something that I'm capable of. Like it's about what I'm accomplishing if I have this kind of ability. Yeah.
Yeah, something I'm loving too, Matt. I know on your episode last month you were talking about the discipline of your quiet time and things like that, and I appreciate how this is almost building on top of the habit that you've previously had. So, is there anything there that is important to
Absolutely. I think that if I hadn't done, because I talked about when I break the fast, I'm going to give thanks. I'm going to pray a little bit. If I hadn't done those two things in January and in February, I probably wouldn't have come
you?
up with that.
Okay.
And I think that I don't know. Okay, this is going to feel a little bit like I started this thing in January. I'm like, I was like, I got to come up with something. Right? I want to do something that kind of like gets people's attention and do stuff. But then as I do it,
Mhm.
and I'm being intentional with it, I'm like, I know this is going to sound awful, but it's like, oh, this stuff actually works, right? If you start, if you,
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, hey, if you actually pay attention to this stuff and like do things intentional, these things, it's like it benefits. I'm already seeing the benefits of putting more time in my Bible study and my prayer. Like the benefits there, they're phenomenal. It's like there are things that I'm not going to stop doing once February's over, right? So the fact that I can tie this into some fasting, yeah, yeah, it's a great pickup by your part on your part because it's something I'm feeling and I'm kind of excited about. So
Yeah, that feels like something to celebrate too, Matt. I wonder how you might, as you finish February and move into March, instead of just, adding something else on top of it, how might you celebrate the progress that you've made and how much you've grown?
I think that I would like to be able to at the end of March here. I want to I want to I want to be able to look back at what I've written in March and see that it's good and quality and quantity, right? That's going to be something that I want to be able to look back and say, and to me, as a number 3, that is its own reward. If I can do this and I can look back and say, okay, I wrote like three good chapters in March. I'm going to feel like I mean, that's just that's what excites me more than something I could say like, well, I don't want to get done with March and do really good healthy wise and do all that and be like, oh, I'm gonna go pig out and eat,
Right.
you know what I mean? Part of me doesn't want to do that, right? You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because I want to try to eat. In addition to doing some intermittent fasting, I'm cutting out some processed foods, sugar, alcohol, all those things, right? So
Mm.
I don't want to. I really don't want to break March with this huge pig out and feel like crap either.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder too how you might, as you're noticing how February is connecting with March, how you might see the results from intermittent fasting and how it connects with your
Yeah.
April goal.
I don't know what I'm doing yet in April, but that's kind of what I'm gonna think about. So I'm gonna have to think about
Awesome.
that. Yeah.
Sounds good.
I like that.
Awesome. Well, great. What kind of accountability or support do you need from me as coach or from people in your community?
Um, I think that how about at the end of the month, would you be willing for me to like share some of the stuff that I've written? You don't have to read it all, but just so I want somebody to know that this is what's gotten done
Absolutely.
in March. I think that will get me going. Yeah,
Sure. Can I add something on top of that?
absolutely.
I'd love to know if you have like a page number goal you want to write, like if you want to accomplish a certain number of pages, or if it's maybe more of the being part of that. How do you feel towards your writing right now, and then how do you feel about it at the end of the month? Kind of like a measuring stick for yourself.
I think that right now it feels like something that I do when I feel like it, when I don't have, it's like on my priority level, it's probably about a 3. And I'd like to, at the end of the month, feel like it was I would say like I can't go to a 10 because I got other things, but if I could get it to like double that to get it to like a 6, if I felt like it was a 6 out of 10, that would feel like huge to me.
Awesome. So we'll check in
Yeah.
on at the end of the month, and
Yeah.
yeah. How about your structure for giving grace and breaking your fast? How would you like accountability around that?
Um, can you just check in with me in a
Sure.
week and let me ask if I've been doing it right?
So 7 days 7 days after you
Yeah.
start. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to
Yeah,
make sure I'm doing it.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Great.
That's awesome, Aubrey. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Any other way you want to end our time? You feel complete?
No, this is good. Just thanks. I appreciate that. I know I'm constantly amazed at the power of coaching. I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but you hit some stuff on the tying it in to what I've already done and how I'm going to break my fast every day and have that almost be ceremonial. And that's now it feels like a plan, and it wasn't before, and now it does. So that's awesome.
Great. Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
it's beautiful to witness you building mental
Yeah.
clarity and mental toughness. So thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, thank you much. I appreciate it, Aubrey.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
After battling cancer and recovering from a stroke, I decided I wanted to change careers. I knew I wanted to help others thrive while living a life that aligned with my values. I realized that flourishing in life is a choice, and I wanted to help others do that through courageous actions. And luckily, I found Lark's Song and became a certified coach. From certified professional coach training to cutting edge well being education and impactful workshops and community partnerships, Lark Song programs equip you with the skills and confidence to make a real difference in your life, your community, and beyond. But Lark Song isn't merely about education, and it isn't about changing careers necessarily. It's about transformation. It's about turning dreams into reality. Are you ready to accelerate your journey to a more fulfilled and flourishing life? Visit larksong.com today to learn more. A better future starts today. What's so interesting to me is that I wasn't when I started doing this monthly metal challenge. I just made these list of things that I wanted to do, these little tactics that I've talked about, and the ways to forge my metal and improve my mental health. And I made this long list, and I've told you why I put gratitude first. I think gratitude is something we have to have if we want to build other traits and other virtues. And then I did faith second because faith is important to me, and I knew that faith was something that I wanted to make very important. Plus, it ties in with gratitude. But then you're going to find some different things the rest of the year, just all over the place. And fasting that we're going to do in March, I don't know why, but I do know why. I see a lot about fasting in my social media and different things because there's a lot of talk about it now, about it from a physical health standpoint and a mental, and just the importance of it. I see all these videos and ideas and different, popular people on Facebook and Twitter and everything else talk about it. And so I saw a lot about it, the mental aspects of fasting and how you can gain from that. And I really hadn't thought about tying it to a biblical into my faith. I don't know why. That's kind of where the idea started. It's very much a biblical aspect. But as I started to get into it and I started practicing my faith, and then I ran into a guy in my Bible study that was doing some fasting and talking about it. And I realized that, oh, this stuff's connected. And my February really needs to connect to my March, and I need to at least talk about that. So, and the biblical examples of fasting are numerous. I mean, Jesus himself fasted for 40 days in the wilderness, and I am not Jesus. I'm far from Jesus. I'm not going to ever be there. So I'm not fasting for the entire day here, entire March. That's not my goal. So I'm not up to that, and I'm not going to do it. But Jesus gave us the example, and he did it to demonstrate his reliance on God, and to give us that example on how we can seek spiritual strength. So there's a good example there for me to do it. And Jesus, as I mentioned with Aubrey there, he talked about how not to do it like the Pharisees and make this huge deal about it. And then also he said something about not make sure you don't disfigure your face and make people think of how awful it is. And I'm going to do my best not to do that. I mean, I am talking about it on a podcast, but I'm trying not to, I want you to join me. All right. This is something I want others to talk about and do it. So we have to talk about it and say we're doing it without making a huge deal about it. Right. So that's going to be what I'm going to try to do here. And also the Bible talks about how it's a way to repent. They talk about that in Jonah. Talks about how fasting is a way to seek his guidance, which is cool. In Acts, Paul, they got together. They were trying to figure out, the church of Antioch, what they needed to do to move forward. This early days of the church, and they did some fasting and some praying, and it was made real clear to them that Barnabas and Saul seemed to be, or Paul, as he will be, to go on and do the ministry. And that was because they were seeking God's guidance as they were fasting. And then finally, it's all about humility. King David, did some fasting, and his whole point was he needed to reflect that he couldn't do things and change his situation on his own. He needed strength from God, and his fasting was a sign of humility to do that. So pretty excited about tying that in together, and then also how I'm going to, end a fast with some prayer to tie this in. But then also there's a lot of non-biblical studies that I think there's some connections to, but there's a lot of scientific studies about the benefits of fasting and how you can use them to develop your mental toughness, your mental acuity, your mental focus, all sorts of things. It's not just a physical thing. There's some study from psychiatric research talking about how people that engaged in intermittent fasting reported lower levels of anxiety and overall improved mood, and that feels opposite. Sometimes we think, oh, I'm gonna get hangry. This is saying no, it's the opposite. When you do it right and you practice it, you actually lower your levels of anxiety and improve your overall mood. There's a lot of connection. 2015 Nature Review on neuroscience talked about how it increases cognitive function, like caloric restriction and fasting could enhance cognitive performance and protect against this neurodegenerative diseases. So it's not just a short-term thing, it's a long-term thing. It protects your brain from some neuro diseases. A lot of studies show about how people report heightened clarity and mindfulness during fasting periods. Part of it is because you're less focused on food. You kind of get that out of your mind, and you just don't have the distractions. One of my favorites here, they talk about stress resilience. Get this. So it's a study on cell metabolism, which might seem a strange place to talk about mental stuff with fasting, but they talked about how it highlighted fasting. It highlighted and induced a mild stress response in the body that allowed the body to be more prepared for significant stressors. So let me say that again. We stop eating. So, and that induces a little stress into our body. Our body has to deal with it, or it doesn't have the nutrients, and our cells are under a little bit of stress as we could expect. But as we practice that lower level of stress, our body is being able to prepare itself to cope with more significant stressors like diseases or cancers or things like that. To me, that is on a cellular level, the idea that intentional stress prepares us for mandatory adversity. On a cellular level, if our bodies practice a little bit of stress, they're better off for when they're under some real stress. That is cool, right? That's enough right there for me, because it fits my idea. It goes it from a mental thing to a physical thing to a cellular thing, which is super cool. I just really enjoy that. So, just a lot of things that they show that fasting can do. Fewer depressive symptoms, less anxiety, as I mentioned. There's a study that shows that regular fasting, intermittent fasting, creates more restful sleep, which anytime we have more restful sleep, that's better daytime functioning. If you sleep better at night, you function better during the day. We all know that. So that's fantastic. It's just another thing is it's a form of self-control. And anytime that we have practice more self-control, we're better at decision-making, more emotional regulation, all those things. It's just so many really good things. They show that it's, again, more energy, more focus, more mental acuity, all these things. I'm really excited about it. And then finally, they talked about on a real small level, they talk about how it can actually decrease oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain, which inflammation's bad, right? So fasting decreases a lot of inflammation, and there's connections between less inflammation equals less conditions like Alzheimer's. So practicing this stuff is not a joke. This practicing fasting and intermittent fasting is, the benefits are through the roof. And that's what I was talking about when I was talking about with Aubrey, is I knew all those things, and it's the coaching session is what I needed to help me get through that, to take it from an idea to a little bit something that's going to help me move forward. I knew all these things. I've read about all these things. I want to experience these things. These are things all I want. I just need a little bit of motivation. I need a little bit of clarity. And honestly, the connection to my spirit and my faith is really useful as well. So this intermittent fasting and this fasting that I'm going to do is just, I loved how the coaching brought it together. I love the plan I'm formulating and going to talk about here in a minute. But in addition to just not eating for stretches of time, there's a few things I'm going to take out of my diet overall for the entire month. One is going to be high sugar, processed sugars. I'm just getting those out completely. Consumption of sugars is often, which is a big part of processed food. I mean, just look at your, bag of Fruit Loops. It's just processed sugar is what it is. And most of this, there is a huge connection with inflammation, insulin resistance, and they really affect cognitive function and negatively affect cognitive function. I read some studies about older people that are in high processed foods and how it just causes that cognitive decline. And then there's studies on kids that are eating high sugar diets and how that makes his cognitive decline. I'm not old, I'm not young, I'm somewhere in the middle, but I know it's the same thing. Just it causes cognitive issues. These, if that's our diet, a lot of sugar, it's a whole lot of, it affects our memory, our attention, our executive function, all these things. It's just things that you don't want not to be at your game mentally. Sugar works against that. So I'm going to cut out all processed sugar from my diet. And then, of course, the other one I'm going to cut out is alcohol. I don't drink a lot of alcohol, but I mean, I could sit here and show you studies after study about how alcohol is not good for our brain, our mind. But I mean, we already know that, right? Alcohol affects cognitive function. That's kind of the point of alcohol. That's the reason people drink alcohol. We already know that. I don't need a study to do that. People do it to kind of shut their brains off, right? Well, even if you're doing it in moderation, and you're not, just getting hammered or anything, it still causes it's less than ideal situations for your brain to function as well as it can. So in addition to just doing some fasting for all food for a stretch of time, I'm also going to cut out processed sugars, processed food like that, and then also alcohol. So I'm pretty excited about it. And then now I'm going to jump in and talk to Dana. Dana is my wife, Dana Thomann, and so I do all this stuff. I'm a mental coach. I work with athletes. I work with educators. I go into schools. I do a podcast on it. This is my job. This is my livelihood. This is what I do, is working on helping people develop mental toughness, mental resilience. So for me doing this stuff, it makes sense. It's research. It helps me grow the podcast. So I have the time and the focus to do these things like all in. Dana is a busy executive. Her days are different, right? So she goes into the office, works a lot of hours, has meetings. It's hard for her to do these things at the level I'm doing it. But Dana has been so kind to jump in and do these things with me every month. And we call her version Mettle in Minutes, because Dana has a little less time, a little bit less focus to point at these ideas like I do. I just don't have she doesn't have the time or the energy to be able to put on them like I do. So we call this Mettle in Minutes, and we're going to jump in and talk about some of the stuff she's done in January, February, and then what she's planning on doing on March. So here's Mettle in Minutes with Dana. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Dana, thanks for joining me. We are on to March, which is about fasting. But first, I want you to give me a little update on January and February, if you want, just on what you've noticed. The whole point of this, again, as you know, the whole point of this monthly metal challenge is forge your metal. We're trying to see some mental benefits in our thoughts and our daily lives and those things. So it'd be remiss if we didn't take some time and be like, okay, here's what I've noticed, right?
Yep.
So give me a little update before we get into fasting, which I don't know if you're excited about it or not, but I know I'm not overly excited about it, but here we go. So jump into, February. January was gratitude, February was faith. Give me some.
Yep. For me, I think the two just folded together seamlessly. So it was quickly as I really focused on prayer, incorporated the gratitude within my prayer. So was able to continue with the practice of gratitude, folding it into my prayer time. As I had communicated, I did my plan was to listen every day to a 5-minute daily devotional podcast, which I did. It was a great way to start my day, just hearing the word, reflecting on the word, having that kind of at top of mind throughout my day, and then really focus in on prayer time, um, as well as Bible reading. But for the prayer focus really took over, and I mean, we joined the small groups. We joined, the focus was on prayer, so it's like everything aligned, and it was I'm learning a lot through that small group, and to me, it lightens the load. It keeps better perspective. It's not about me, but and it's not me trying to deal with things on my own, but I've got, the Lord's word to reflect on, and to pray to him and seek answers. And then as soon as you start talking about prayer or have prayer needs, like you instantly have a community, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be the new people in this small group. It just, you instantly just feel that you've got this you've got this community around you. So it's been so refreshing, and definitely from a mental state, just very rewarding and soothing and less stressful, and it removes anxiety. So um, it's been amazing.
Yeah, one of the things I've been talking about, and I talked to earlier on the podcast, obviously you weren't here with me, is that just the idea that when we do things intentional, I always talk about the intentional adversity we things to do. Not that reading your Bible or doing the devotional or praying is adversity, but it has to be intentional time that you put into, right? So it's like
Yes.
you do have to be like, okay, I can't do this because I need to do this. So it's intentional. And whenever you do intentional things like that, it helps you whenever you have mandatory stressors that happen in
Yep.
life. And if you don't mind if I doing this, like I can remember once during the month, you and I, like just a normal argument, like just kind of like end of the day, uptight, stuff like that. And one that could have and has in the past possibly like extended, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
it becomes like this thing we're kind of arguing, upset about. And I could feel like both of us could be like, okay, hold on and just calm down. You could pray about it. You could think about it. And it just gave a place for those. I don't know. It felt different. It felt a
Yes.
little bit different.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And I wrote something down and I want to share. And I reflected back to when we were at Long Hollow, um, and Robbie did a sermon on Deuteronomy. And so it's got Deuteronomy 4, and it talks about the God that God has saved you to be entered into a covenant with him. He doesn't want us to be a robot, though. He wants a relationship with us. And in that relationship, he wants to show us how to live. And the emphasis was on really diving into the word live, and not to exist, not to survive, but to live fully, deeply, and exuberantly. And to me, that kept coming back this month. And I think through prayer, through increased focus on faith, and focusing on the relationship with God, it helped flip me from a survival mode to a thriving. right? And what more can I do for the Lord? How can I impact this person positively for the day? How can I better serve my community? So yeah, it's been a good month.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is, and it's so to continue. We're gonna do fasting, and here's the thing. Here's what I've figured out as I've started to research and do stuff like this. That like I was with you. I'm like I was like gratitude fit seamlessly with prayer,
Yes.
right? What's interesting is fasting is a very biblical concept as well,
Yes.
right? So I don't know if that's something that you thought about or you did, but it's something that kind of hit me as I was doing this. So it can be part of it, right?
Can be.
But there's other things that a lot of benefits to fasting, mental clarity, things like that. But I'm curious what your plan is and how you're going to do this, because this mental metal and minutes idea is like I have
Yes.
it's going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you, but I want to see what you plan to do,
Yep.
intentionally.
Yes. So I fasted off and on in the past, never consistently for a full month. So I will look to fast. I think it will break some habits I have later at night, or my vanilla habit right now of a morning for breakfast. So it's going to be good to break some habits. Challenging to get through, I think, in the first few days, right? You're used to maybe eating, so just building that habit. But do intend to fast, so skipping breakfast, so ending at supper, skipping breakfast, and then eating my first meal at lunch. My focus is going to be to make sure that I get the protein levels I need, so eating whole foods. I will definitely join you in the no alcohol for the month. I'm not going to be as strict as you in the no processed foods. I think I know with my schedule, sometimes I have to run down to the cafeteria at work to get some lunch if I haven't prepared it and taken it in advance. And so what I'm doing is creating kind of a short list of here's some meals that I know I can have that are nutritious, but might have a flour tortilla or something.
Yeah.
It's peanut butter or some protein powder if I want to make a shake. So I've got a short list that I'm going to stick to, but making sure that I am focused on nutrition, the whole food nutrition for the most part, and not skipping a second meal just because I wasn't prepared. So
So one of the things, and I may be throwing this at you that you hadn't thought of, but is in my coaching session with Aubrey, is fasting is about not doing something or not eating something. And I turned it into something that I want to get out of it. Like, and I tied it in with my writing and some of the stuff I'm going to do. So like, if I'm going to do a 16 to 8 fast,
right,
that's 16 hours. That's in the morning stuff. It's when I do my writing. If it's supposed to give me more mental clarity,
makes sense.
then that's when I'll do my writing. Right.
Yep.
So I'm just curious how are you going to see the benefits of, how do you think you'll see it if this stuff's supposed to work, if fasting for mental clarity and mood and resilience and stuff like this, how do you think, what are you going to look for?
I think just a quicker start, right? So if you do get that mental clarity, you don't have the fogginess, then whether it's a 7 a.m. meeting start or 8 a.m. and several days I've got back-to-back meetings. So I'm looking to have it make me sharper, to be more present, to remove that fogginess as I work through meetings. And to your point, hadn't thought about it, but if I, as much as I can influence my schedule, if I can identify some times in the morning where if I need work I need to get done, I need to look to shift that to the morning
Yeah.
and have some work time. So I'll
I
go up
like,
and work on my March calendar.
it's an interesting idea, right?
It is.
If this is what you're doing it for, to gain from it, then do it. And the other thing I'm going to do, that I didn't tell you this, I'm really throwing stuff at you here, is I'm going to make sure that when I do break my fast every day, that is a time to reflect back on what I've noticed. And also when I break the fast, make sure that there's some prayer that go into that. So I'm
Like
going
that.
to take what I've been doing for February, tie it into this one. If that, one of the things about the biblical things is the fasting is supposed to help you with seeking God's guidance and having a better connection with him. So at the same way, like if I'm going to break my fast, before I break my fast, maybe I should ask him for some guidance and some clarity. Right. So before I break my fast, take just a little bit of time in prayer and make those things connect.
Interesting. No, it's fair whether you break your fast or, in the morning. Again, listening to that podcast and driving to work, really I've shut off the news and spent that time just kind of praying or lifting others up who have asked for prayer requests. But maybe it's even in that I can incorporate, it won't be breaking my fast at that point, but knowing that I've got some good hours of good mental focus and clarity seeking then. So
Yeah,
good way to tie it into.
it is. It's.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm liking how this stuff is connecting because I didn't expect that all the way.
The
But
challenge is how you can connect then that cold plunge or whatever we're going to do in the
we'll get
future.
there. Yeah, we're gonna get there. Yeah, we're gonna get to that. It's interesting. One of the things, just so you know, just like one of the things I was just talking about is there's some studies to show that fasting actually can improve mood, which is interesting because we often think it's the opposite, right? I'm going to get hungry, I'm going to get hangry, right? But I think if you practice it well and do it the right way, it actually can help it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of positive support there.
I don't know that I often I get maybe hangry later in the day. So this will be all right to do it in the day. I'm really excited to focus on breaking my fast with whole food nutrition, just because you have to be smart about that, right? Because if you pick poor nutrition, that's why I like the element that you challenged me on, the processed foods, because eliminating those means it's going to be good nutritious food that we're putting into our body, which I think goes back to how we should be taking care of our body to serve the Lord, right? So, but it just, you feel so much better when you're focused on whole foods. And so I'm excited about going from the fast, incorporating the fasting, the intermittent fasting piece with whole food nutrition.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited. I wasn't excited about it, but I'm getting more excited about it. And part of that is I'm going to give you a thanks for joining in this with me, because a little bit of accountability makes like misery loves company, sort of, right? Like, it's like, if you're going to do this stuff with me, it really helps me a lot. And if you're listening to this and you're interested in doing some of this stuff, reach out to Dana, reach out to me, and any of the stuff that we've done, even if it's stuff we haven't, you don't have to do it the month that we're doing, but having a little bit of accountability and having somebody to help you and I don't want to say mentor you, but somebody knows you're doing it, a lot of times helps you make sure it happens. It's with everything we do, any of this intentional stuff. If we let somebody know that we're doing it, we're more likely to make sure it happens. So, all right, well, we'll see you on the podcast here in another month, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks, Matt.
Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they could still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great. They're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mental Mettle Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website, get started on the journey to a more confident, successful athlete with Mental Mettle Coaching. I meant what I said. It is so useful having her jump in with these things, even if it's not at the same level I'm doing it. Just knowing that that's our focus for a month has been fantastic. It is really, I'm really starting to see benefits with her doing it with me together, and it just, us and our relationship has just been really helpful, especially leaning into our faith. It's been really useful for that. I'm interested to see how the fasting goes with it as well. Anytime that you're doing something like that you're cutting out, it really helps to have somebody with you, because, honestly, if I say I'm cutting out sugars and I look over there and she's eating a bowl full of Nilla Manillas and having a drink, it's really hard for me to do it. So it's really helpful for her to do it with me. So So my plan, she talked about a little bit about what she's going to do. She's going to skip breakfast every morning and break her fast around noon, which is a pretty good plan. And then cutting out those sugars. I think she's going to get some benefit from it, and it's going to be really good. Here's my plan. What I'm going to do. I'm going to start March. So the day that you're listening to this, first Monday in March, I will be in the middle of somewhere between a 24 to 36 hour fast, somewhere in there. I'm going to, this Monday, the day you're listening to this, I'm just not eating that day. And then I'll break the fast sometime the next day. There's been I'm not going to do that. Like I said, I'm not Jesus. I'm not going to do a 40 day one, but I'm going to try and do a full day that I do this. There's been a lot of research showing that if you can do a 24 to 36 hour fast, it promotes neurogenesis, the growth of neurons. Remember, I love talking about neuroplasticity and how changing our thought processes is so useful. And whenever we change our mind about something and think about things differently, we're actually changing new neurons in our mind, new pathways. And if fasting can help me promote neurogenesis to do that, well, I'm all in, right? It's going to help me think about things better and think about more clarity. That's really awesome. So I'm going to do that one. I think I'm probably just going to do once. I might do it another point in March if it goes really well. But then for the rest of the month, I'm going to do what they call the 16-8, which is I'm going to fast for 16 hours and then eat for 8 hours. I'm not going to eat 8 hours straight. But that's part of the problem is sometimes when you break your fast, you really go overboard. But that's why I'm going to focus on the whole food stuff and take the sugar out, take the alcohol out, those things. And that'll help me. A lot of times, you load up with sugars in the beginning of the day and carbs in the early in the day. There's a lot of studies show that make you more hungry. So I am definitely going to make sure when I do break my fast that I'm going to do it in a very healthy way and not have those sugars. Again, my whole point of this is I am going to, in that 16 hours, of course, I'm going to be sleeping some of it. When I get up in the morning and I'm fasted through whatever time 16 hours ends up being, that's my writing time. That's if it's supposed to help me increase my cognitive function and my mental acuity, then I'm going to lean into that and I'm going to see the benefits from it. And Aubrey did a great job of help me realizing that it's not less about something about what I'm not doing is what I am doing. And I'm going to get that benefits and do that. Really excited about that. And then I'm going to end my fast every day with some journaling time, noticing what I've noticed, probably put some gratitudes in there since I'm already gratitude journaling. I'm going to journal about what I've noticed. And before I break my fast, I'm going to have some prayer time. If that is, God is asking me and what Jesus talked about and those things, that if it helps seek God's will, the fasting, then at the end of the fast is the perfect time to seek God's will. Ask what does he look for me? What does he want for me? What is he, what's my plan? How can I help? Well, how can I serve you? All these things that I want to do. It's a perfect time to do it. So I really like the idea. It's very intentional. It's on purpose. It's not just about what I'm not doing. It's about what I am doing. And I'm really looking for that. And then I haven't even talked about the physical stuff. There's a lot of physical aspects and physical benefits to fasting. So many things. If you do it well, you lower blood sugar, neuron creation, lower cholesterol, better metabolic health, cell repair, increases that mitosis, all these things. Then I'm not really going to be able to track. I'm sure I could if I wanted to go get blood tests and all these tests and do these things that they do on studies. I could do that, but I'm not going to be able to do that. But then there's also physical benefits that you can track. It's supposed to help with less inflammation. That's something I can look for. Am I seeing less inflammation? Am I supposed to see higher energy levels? Well, I'm all for that. Maybe I can notice that when I'm journaling. And then of course there is some weight loss that comes with it. And I wouldn't mind losing a couple pounds if I do that. And if I'm noticing those things, the more things that I'm noticing, even if they're physical, because if we feel good, if we look good, we feel good, we think good, play good, all those things. Like there's going to be benefits to it. And the more the benefits that I can notice and track and pay attention to, the better. So I've in the process of creating this podcast, between doing the research, doing the coaching session with Aubrey, and then talking to my wife about it and just laying my plan, I've gone from kind of hesitant to do this to really excited to start. Really excited to start and start seeing these benefits and forge my mettle better and build that mental toughness. And I'm really excited about it. As I mentioned with the talk with Dana, I would love, I've started to get more and more texts, calls, emails from people as they're enjoying the podcast. I can't thank you enough for those that have sent stuff out. I love it. It helps me realize that what I'm doing is helping people, and it's something that's really important to me. It's something I enjoy to do, is help people, and I want to continue to do that. So as you hear this, and if you want to talk about the gratitude that we did in January, or the faith building we did in February, or the fasting now, shoot me an email, shoot me a text, and reach out to me about, do you want to join in? If you want me to be an accountability partner, if you want to just run some things by me, I would love to help. Or if you know Dana and you want to jump in with her, you can. I'm all for having this be a little bit more of a group thing, but for that to happen, you got to reach out. Let me know how I can help. Let me know what you need from me. And if you like the sort of things that I'm putting out and you like the podcast, do me a favor, share it. I'm starting to see some growth from some people sharing it. And it's just something I can't thank you enough for. A lot of gratitude for those that share it to others. And I'm really enjoying that and liking to see, like I said, I do this to help people, and I'm really excited about it. So like, share, subscribe, all those things really helps the algorithms, really helps the podcast grow. So, wow, this has been a great episode. I'm really probably as excited. I'm pretty excited about this episode now and jumping into March. So some good episodes coming up in March as well. Some good coaches I've got interviews with. So thanks so much for joining. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann. This has been the Mental Mettle Podcast, and always remember to forge your mettle. Thanks for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast. Don't forget to tune in every week for more insights and strategies to help you forge mental toughness and resilience. This podcast is brought to you by Mental Mettle Coaching, where we are driven by a passion for sharing knowledge and experience that empowers others to play, live, and grow with confidence. Our mission is to instill a resilient and spirited mindset in our clients, enabling them to confidently face adversity and actively seek new challenges for personal growth. At Mental Mettle Coaching, we offer individual coaching, group coaching, and professional development for schools and businesses. Whether you're an athlete, educator, or professional, we're here to help you unlock your potential and thrive in every area of life. Until next time, keep growing, stay resilient, and always remember to forge your mettle.